second game is all about a straightforward scrap for points. Mumbai against Punjab. Mumbai will be wondering where that last game went. They looked like they possibly had a decent run chase on against Bangalore, but it all went pear-shaped. And it's this unfamiliar territory, Joy, for Mumbai. Yes, they're slow starters even in the second half of the season, but time is running out for slow starts.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, remember, Mumbai does not like to change their team. They really, really don't like to tamper with their team. So what happens is that if they don't play, if they have to change, I'm just looking at that lineup and saying, who do they really change? If they want to say, give Ishan Kishan a rest, all they can do is bring Saurav Tiwari in for one of these. But there's nothing else. There's nobody else who's played at all or looks close to playing. I mean, the only other person you can look at is Jayant Yadav if they want to play a spinner instead of another fast bowler. But really, this is not the kind of pitch in Sharjah. They might not really look at it. Rahul Chahar is doing a good enough job for them. Kunal Pandya is bowling for them. So that's the problem. It's a great 11 and it's a terrific 11 when it's on song. It's not working now. And I think that the other pieces are so very different. To try and fit them in is difficult. So I think Mumbai is the kind of team who will grit their teeth and say that, maximum make one change or something and say, we've trusted these guys. We won 5 championships going with our strength. Let's do it again. And I think that's how they're going to play.
There's the other point as well, is that all of those middle order players are the Indian players building up for the T20 World Cup. So do you drop them? Because they've got to play to get some form back. So it reminds me of when I used to play for New South Wales. They had so many Australian potential players that you had to give them overs, give them time in the middle. It wasn't just about your state winning. It was about potentially those individuals going on for higher honours. So there's another storyline that's kind of going on with this, which I'm fascinated to see, because we talk about franchises are so cut off. It's about them winning. But surely there's something in the back of all of their minds of, we've got to get these guys in form.
Yeah, and I mean, they are called the Mumbai Indians after all. They like to think themselves as almost as the national representatives. But that's an interesting point Lisa makes, Joy, because obviously you've got Rohit Sharma leading the Mumbai Indians. He's a key part of that T20 setup as well. So Hardik Pandya, Ishan Kishan, Surya Kumar Yadav. I mean, Hardik Pandya didn't bowl the last game. We thought he was coming in as an all-rounder. Last minute we were told, back issues, he'll just be a batsman. Didn't get much of an outing.
Absolutely. I mean, and 6 players playing, potentially playing, not 6 players in the 15 for India. That's a huge percentage. That's, 33% of the players. No, around that. And that's my big problem, that you have a huge disproportionate, Mumbai Indians players' fortunes are disproportionately linked to the Indian team's fortunes. So these guys need to perform and they can't be dropped, because if they're dropped and they lose confidence, I mean, they're going to be also...
Correct.
There's one more thing, Lisa, that struck me. That if I was the Indian team physio, I'd be calling up the Mumbai team physio every day and asking, what is the exact situation with Hardik Pandya? So, look, I don't need to know that conversation, but I really, really hope those two are talking to each other and know exactly what's happening with Hardik Pandya. Because it's India's fortunes. If he's not fit to bowl, they cannot afford to play him just as a batsman. They need another all-rounder in. And there are people like Shardul Thakur who are knocking the door down. I mean, it's just something that they need to think about, definitely.
Also, perhaps if it's a situation where he needs to be preserved a little bit more to get his back okay, then maybe they hang on to him a little bit more and try and rebalance the side with a Jimmy Neesham if they need all-round ability instead of an Adam Milne. Could be looking at perhaps combinations like that. But as Joy said at the start of this little section, they are not a team who likes to change whether they're winning or losing. And right now, they're desperate to win, as are the men from up north. Punjab have the exciting team, as we like to call them. This is the time they'll want to throw that straight out the window. We want to play a very boring match and want to come away with 2 points and let Mumbai do what they've been doing consistently in this part of the season, which is not win. They do change. Unlike Mumbai, Punjab like to make wholesale changes. You never know what's going to happen.
So I'm predicting 3 changes in the team. And they are, well, I actually don't know what the changes are, but I'm predicting 3 changes in the team. Because you know what? This Punjab, they have to change.
It's Punjab, yeah, correct.
But you haven't really had consistency. I mean, Gale comes in, Gale goes out. Puran, yes, he was there, but he was there in a game when he couldn't quite finish things off. Markram's looks solid, but you have options. We talked about Chris Jordan playing early on. He hasn't played yet. Adil Rashid came in, Adil Rashid went out, and the two all-rounders in Fabian and Moises Henriques haven't really got a look in. So they've got options, but the question is, who are they going to turn to, Lisa?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm a bit surprised that we haven't seen Fabian Allen. He played the one game. He took the flying Superman catch like he always does. Like that's what you can rely on with him. But he is a late order hitter, and he does bowl really handy spin. So he is a contender potentially. And Aiden Markram, he's got a couple of 20s, but if you're going to have an international that bats at the top, they've got to go big. You can't 20s. Anyone can get your 20s. So they've got to look at that. I'm glad Nicholas Puran has done a little bit better than the first leg, though he's now starting to slide again. So fingers crossed for him, he can come back up. But I do feel like they changed too much. And Joy, you're probably right. They will change again, but they do at some point have to stick. And it's the middle batters, the middle order batters that really do need to fire. I think the bowling, they found Nathan Ellis that could potentially finish for him. He bowled well that last over to defend 13 runs. So maybe it's just from a batting perspective, that middle order.
Yeah, there are very few pillars they're building around. I mean, you look at it, maybe you look at the pillars. There's Rahul, Mayank Agarwal, Shami maybe. These are 3-4, Nicholas Puran, who they have persisted with, Harpreet Bar, they're playing. And I'd love to see Ravi Bishnoi playing more matches because he's an excellent bowler. He gives them some value. My only problem is that stick to it, give these players some confidence, because again, something interesting is going to happen. Both these guys are 4 and 6. Somebody's going to win, and somebody's going to go on the return path. And whoever's 4 and 7 is then looking at elimination immediately. This is an elimination match. 4 and 7 is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, remember we all talked about the fortunes of the team at the bottom, but it's not just one team will be eliminated. When we get to the final 4, it's 4 teams who will miss out on those playoff spots. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Nathan Ellis was going to be my one question, but Lisa already answers that. She feels he's done enough to keep his place. But I think, Joy, Ravi Bishnoi definitely just the energy he brings on the field. There's no way of dropping him again.
Yeah, I mean, again, quality India player is coming forward. Look at the kind of results they've done for you. He's really, with Bishnoi, you've won 9. Without him, you've won 1 match. I mean, that's got to tell you something. This guy does stuff on the field, and he's got the best, tutor in the world. Anil Kumble is sitting out there on the bench next to him, 619 test wickets, who can tell him, this is what it is. And Anil Kumble in his time was not known as the big spinner of the ball as well. I mean, Bishnoi is also more of a googly kind of bowler, but that's what Kumble used to do a lot of as well. And I think that's the thing. I find it very interesting that so many changes are being made, because this team is being led by a man who is a paragon of stability in his time in the Indian team. So that's what I find interesting. Perhaps somewhere they'll discover that balance and that sort of serenity. This is what this, Punjab team needs. They have lots of pieces they need to be avoided.